Professor Monikh, what are micro and nanoplastics and why do they represent such an important research field?
Well, simply, if we look around ourselves, we see that plastic are making a very important portion of our daily life. But the question is, after using this plastic, what will happen to them? So basically, we try to recycle and separate them, but after that, most of this plastic will end up in the environment. Over time, the environment will degrade them to smaller pieces known as microplastic and even smaller to nanoplastic. And these small particles can easily distribute in water, soil, and air. And when they encounter organisms like human, they can easily pass the biological barrier like the lung, the intestine system, and enter our body. Then what will happen to these small particles in our body, which they are non-biodegradable? This is a question that needs to be answered. There is no information about these tiny plastic, what will happen to them, what is the fate of these particles in our body, and how our immune system and our body can fight them. It's unknown.
You and other scholars are proposing a protocol to study the micro and nanoplastic. What are the characteristics of the protocol that you are proposing?
Well, due to the importance of the topic, many research fields, many organizations try to produce the data about microplastic and nanoplastic. And since considering the multidisciplinary aspect of this problem, chemists, environmental science, water researchers, and so on, they try to produce the required data. But since everyone will take different approach to produce the data, then it's not possible to, or it's difficult to compare the outcome of each research. This protocol, what try to do is to harmonize all the method that's available and look into detail from a very perspective of nanoplastic and microplastic and their characteristic, and to understand what is needed to be taken into account to study these particles, because they are unlike the chemicals, unlike the traditional materials. They are materials and they need to be investigated differently. So this protocol will provide stepwise approaches and procedures for researchers from all domains to perform correct studies on microplastic and nanoplastic to generate the data that all research field and all stakeholders, they can compare the data together to generate the required political actions and standardization and so on.
Do you think that this protocol will be accepted by other scholars and that will be able to stimulate research in this field?
Well, the acceptance of the protocol could be based on the requirement of the research field that try to produce the data. So basically, there is no protocol or a globally accepted, at least to say, protocol for how to perform research or investigation on microplastic and nanoplastic. This is the first harmonized, generalized protocol that can help researchers to take step by step to generate the comparable data, as I mentioned. So that could be a very important step forward to generalize an even more comprehensive protocol for the future.
Professor Bogialli, why is a protocol important in a research field, and what are the characteristics of this particular protocol proposed by Professor Monikh?
So for all the issues requiring regulation, legislation, we need to know about the presence of a certain contaminant, also in the case of the emerging contaminants. So the first step is to know, to identify, to quantify, because without this information we cannot proceed to the management of this risk. And so the analysis is useful for the quantification of the presence, because actually we don't know how many micro and nanoplastic we have in the environment. We don't know which is the environmental pathways of this nanoplastic. We don't know which is the impact of the human health. So we have to measure as a first step. And then we can propose a regulation, because after the regulation, it is possible to manage this risk and to reduce the pollution and the spread of the micro and nanoplastic.
What is the importance of studying emerging contaminants, and what progress is research taking in this field?
So currently there is a definition of emerging contaminant that is quite large, because emerging contaminant is not only new contaminants, but contaminants for which we don't have information. So also new information about old chemicals, for instance. So it is important to collect information. Scientific information, scientific knowledge is the necessary step to enlarge the protection of the human health, because we have to know about the environmental fate, about the toxicologically potential adverse effect about these emerging contaminants, new chemicals that are not only synthetic ones, but also natural compounds present in the environment. So we need to collect robust information about their presence, their degradation, their impact of the environment and human health. So this is anyway the information we need to manage the risk related to this contamination, and also to foresee a new direction in the producing new chemicals, more safe, more environmental friendly, more cheap if you want, but anyway with this new information we can change the nature of the producing and the spread and the safety of the new chemicals or old chemicals with new effects.